I mean, you look at all the stuff that he's been through, you know, as a playing quarterback might have been the safest thing that he's done.
Absolutely.
There's a lot there. For one thing, Joe Douglas admitted at the end of the season he should have signed Robbie Anderson. So right there you go. For another, Joe Douglas promised Chris and Mike Darnold, Sam's parents, in August of 2019, I'm going to get your son protection and playmakers. And I think if Joe Douglas were sitting at this table, and we got room, by the way, we're distanced here. We got room for Joe. I think he would concede that he has not done an adequate job in that. Maybe close to adequate, and I know Becton helps an awful lot, but he has a lot of other work to do in terms of supporting any quarterback, including Sam Darnold. Robert Saleh has come in and raved about Darnold, and a couple of he said unbelievable talent, which you can't grow that. So that's who Sam is in Saleh's mind, because I take Saleh at his word here. But he also called him a quick precision decision maker. Now, I think we got to go back to Week 6, 2019 against the Cowboys to really see that, though. And I think we have some. There we go. In that game, that's who Sam Darnold was, and Saleh had to have rewatched that game as he prepared to play the Jets last September. And I think that's significant in this because he saw Sam operating against a good team, a brand-name team, in a way that allowed his team to win a game that no one picked them to win. Forget that no one picked them to win. That's not important. But they won a game in a fashion that no one would have expected. And there's Robbie Anderson right now. And now you can't understand why they did not sign Robbie Anderson last season. So I think there's a lot here. Here's what I gather from the Jets, from everything Ian's reporting, from what Peter has said, from what we've all said and what we all know. I honestly believe at the top of that organization, they do not believe they've done Sam Darnold right. And I think they care about that at the top of that organization. And I think that might give Sam one of the better chances to stay, Michael, in the sense that they say, we have not maximized this guy, someone else might. And then you're telling me we got to build from Zach Wilson. It's a conundrum, but to me, there's almost a logical answer to it.
Here are the two wild cards in this whole thing. Woody Johnson's back.
Yeah.
Woody Johnson hasn't been around the last few years. He's back from his UK ambassadorship. He is now in the building, and he will play a role. And we don't know what Woody thinks. He's one of the owners, and obviously Christopher Johnson, his little brother, has been running things while he's been away. The second part is, what if Zach Wilson or Justin Fields has the charisma and the panache? Because for all the things about Sam Darnold, he ain't Joe Namath. He's not walking in the room and saying, follow me to the promised land. The players love him. Teammates love him. But there is something intoxicating when these rookie quarterbacks, a Baker Mayfield, a Johnny Manziel even, when they walk in the room and they're like, I'm going to take your franchise, and I'm going to take you there. Follow me. A lot of times coaches and GMs can fall in love with that. Zach Wilson, I'm told, is that Pied Piper type.
Sam is highly respected, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think we should discount that part of it. Interesting. It's good. Listen, we got a while to talk about it, right? And I like the fact Jets doing.
Grace in Philly is one of the most stunning things we've seen in the league. In today's Real Mike Rob Report, I'm going to take you back to 2017 to show what Carson did so great, right? And what led to his drop-off. And how Frank Wright might be able to help resurrect his career. Let's go to the tape, Sean.
Are we going to the DeLorean?
Okay,
back to the future.
This is 2017 against my Seattle Seahawks. Okay, you see Carson Wentz in the gun here. Great play. He gets a little pressure, right? Watch how he climbs in the pocket, Sean. Climbed in the pocket, let the defense run past him. And this is what I love about Carson Wentz. Early in his career, there wasn't a spot on the field that wasn't, that he could not touch. You see him throw all the way across the field to Nelson Aguilar, or just dropped a straight dime. Look how he stepped up in the pocket right here, Sean. Look at this. Look at that.
Johnson.
Oh my goodness. Look at this dime. The receiver didn't even have to put his hands out. Again, this is Week 7, 2020 against your New York Giants, Sean. Okay, look, clean pocket. Where you going, Carson? Okay, you may say, okay, he's getting rushed here. He flees out of the pocket again. Okay, there's nobody open here, guys. There's nobody open. Throw the ball away, live to fight another day. No, he throws it up. It gets intercepted. This is the Carson Wentz that we cannot see. Here's this play again. He gets flushed out of the pocket. He had an early throw to one of the underneath throws. But again, he bails on the throw, throws it up. The ball gets intercepted. The number one job of the quarterback is to not give the ball to the other team, Carson, okay? This is Week 4, 2017. Again, Carson Wentz in the shotgun. He's feeling confident. He's feeling strong. A good little play fake. Watch how he lets the ball out of his hands, guys. Clean pocket. drops a straight dime. He knew exactly where he was going with the ball. There was no hesitation, right? He knew where he was going with the ball from the start of the play.
Zach Ertz on a linebacker?
I mean, okay, yeah, Sean, you know, that's common sense, right? Okay, we're going to look at another play. Hey, Carson, pump that fist, big dog. Even though you play for the Colts right now, but it's okay. It's okay. Week 12, 2020. This is what we cannot see from Carson. Guys, this play is something that every quarterback in the National Football League hits. Clean pocket, all right? Clean pocket. You're high-lowing the linebackers, all right? Carson gives up on the over route to take the check down. Okay, pass breakup, right? But this is what I want you guys to, see this. Watch Bobby Wagner right here. Watch Bobby Wagner. Bro, he was open. What are we doing?
Bobby's
Bobby's letting you know, Carson.
Bobby's yelling at the linebacker saying, who was supposed to have him?
Who was supposed to have this guy? This guy was wide open. We got to see 2017 Carson Wentz, the guy that went 11-2, the guy that was a playmaker at all times, a guy that touched every part of the field, a guy that had those mechanics, a guy that, you know, was a competitor and was out there trying to fight. Not the Carson Wentz of 2020. The Carson Wentz of 2020 seemed to be into his head. It seemed like he was thinking too much, and it seemed like he was worried about a guy behind him. If that happens in Indy, I'm telling you, Darius Leonard and that defense, they're going to be all over Carson Wentz if he plays like he did in 2020.
You know, great breakdown right there, Mike Rob.
Absolutely.
And to quote Gaylord Fokker's father-in-law, you broke the circle of trust.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz, the circle of trust is the huddle, right? And the pocket. And I said this, you know, last season when I was watching film like you. Carson Wentz was suffering from PTSD this past season, post-traumatic sack disorder. You just showed it so beautifully, the fact that, look, he didn't trust the pocket. He didn't know where to turn. He's running out the back door when he should be stepping up in the pocket, and he wasn't comfortable. And he was like Cole Trickle back in the cockpit, and he just wanted to get out of that race car. He did not
What is going on here?
I felt bad watching. It was cringeworthy watching that film, and I'm sure Carson Wentz looks at that and says, "Man, that's not me." Like I'm normally the guy that's hanging in the pocket, taking the hit. A couple of years ago, they were saying, "Man, Carson's taking too many hits, hanging in the pocket."
But Sean, don't you pay a guy $100 million to overcome some of that stuff? I'm not. No, don't get me wrong. We seen like in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes even needs protection, right? But don't you pay a guy like that to kind of, you know, get over some of those,
You do. You pay the quarterback to make the throws. You also pay offensive linemen to block. And without Lane Johnson, with their first-round pick Dillard, who tore his ACL before the season started, with their guard Brandon Brooks, who tore his Achilles. You go down the list of the offensive line. Those guys were all getting paid, and they weren't even on the field. So it's collateral damage with all that stuff.
You know, we all
breakdown.
We all just spent the beginning of the show talking about Sam Darnold needs more help, and let's give Sam Darnold more time. Does the same not apply to Carson Wentz, or is it because Carson Wentz is further along in his career that maybe we expect him to overcome that stuff where Sam Darnold, we say, well, look, he had no offensive line and no receiver.
We talked about Carson Wentz being a MVP candidate, okay? And then he fell off a cliff. Right, so you know, I'm not going to give the excuses for Carson Wentz. I just expected more, right? And Sam Darnold, right? You see what he came to. That team hadn't really done much. They had a lot of change. Carson Wentz, and I think Kim said it yesterday. Going into last season, it was the only team that had stability, right? Their coaches were there. Everybody was there.
So is that not an outlier? Like his whole career, he's been okay. He's been pretty good. Last year was a disaster, and they ended up firing the head coach, firing the offensive coordinator, firing the running backs coach, firing everybody. They're now cutting Alshon Jeffrey. They're getting rid of Deshaun Jackson. Like, I don't know. For 2 years, I feel like Carson Wentz has been throwing to second-tier talent in big spots. And no offense to the Greg Wards and the Fulghams and the Josh Perkins, but maybe it's the Eagles. Like, maybe it's the Eagles, and maybe we can look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe you didn't surround Carson Wentz. And for him to have such a breakdown and go so far down the cliff, do I blame just the quarterback?
No, I wouldn't blame him.
No, but he's got to take some of it, Peter. I mean, this is a guy they paid too early. They paid him a fortune.
Who paid him?
And I understand that. You're not going to turn down the money, and I get that. But I'm a big believer. Responsibility comes with that money. You got to be a quarterback for the whole room. You got to be able to make receivers. Listen, he made Greg Ward look like a really good receiver a couple years ago. You know, we saw it in him. He has Zach Ertz. I know not always healthy, but he has one of the best tight ends in this league. You know, I can't be the only one here who doesn't think Carson Wentz deserves some blame here.
I think.
And he can't go to Indy and be the Carson Wentz in Philly this past season.
He can't.
Because I don't care who his coach is, that's not going to work.
And to you guys' point, not this past year, but the year before that, those last 4 or 5 games, we saw Carson Wentz will that team to win.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, they finished.
Yes.
Beat the Cowboys.
He had these intangibles that you wanted to grab onto.
But to your point, we talked before the show, right?
Yep.
Those receivers he were leading, no disrespect to them, they weren't alpha dogs, right? To truly win in this league as a quarterback, you got to be able to lead alpha dogs. You got to be able to deal with some personalities. You got to